and welcome to God Calling Vocation Vibes, a podcast series by the Little Sisters of the Poor, where we talk about all things vocation with special guests. I'm Sister Carolyn, and today our guest is Sister Ellen Ann. Sister Ellen Ann, would you care to introduce yourself? Tell us a little about yourself.
Hello, my name is Sister Ellen Ann. I'm a little sister of the poor, and I'm a Southern girl, and I'm also a nurse. I got my degree in nursing as a little sister, and I care for the elderly poor, and I am very honored and blessed to be able to care for God's chosen ones.
And Sister Ellen Ann, your task within our hospitaller mission has always included direct hospitality. We have little sisters on each of the care areas in our different homes. And regardless of what other duties you've been given in addition, you've always been involved in hospitality. You are just such a good hospitaller. And I'm just very pleased that you can help us delve into this topic. So first, I thought it would be good if we started out by delving into your own vocation story and how God formed your heart for hospitality. And then we'll look at the day-to-day lived hospitality. But how was it that you received your call and that God formed your heart from early on?
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, after high school, I went to college, and I was majoring in elementary education because I have a great love for children. And in my third year of college, I felt a tug in my heart, and I was looking for more in life than what life offered. I was very happy. I wasn't wanting for anything. I had lots of friends. I used to love to go out and party. I used to love to dance, and I loved music. So I was very happy, but there was something within me, and I wasn't, kept gnawing at me, and I really couldn't find peace until I I knew deep down that the Lord was calling me to be a religious, and I struggled with that, and I eventually knew that I wouldn't find peace. There's a saying, "In His will is our peace," and so I started searching. And being that I was in education, I went to look at a religious order that I felt that if I was going to give my life as a religious, I wanted people to know it. So I felt the religious habit was extremely important. And I love to wear dresses anyway. So I just love the habit of the little sisters as well. But my aunt was a little sister, and she was stationed in France. And I can't say she had a major impact on me, but she was a religious I knew that I could write to. But once I shared that with my aunt, there was no turning back. And she was a full support to me. And I sought out the Little Sisters. I had read a book after high school. I was helping my mom clean out the shed, and amazingly, a book fell on the ground. And I said, "Mama, what's this?" And she said, "Well, that's a book that your daddy's sister belongs to the order of the lady that founded it." And so I read it, and I was so impressed with the service part. And at the time, my grandpa lived right next door to us, and I was living with him. So I always considered my papa my very first resident. But I did enter the Little Sisters, and I fell in love with the service component, that vow of hospitality. And sometimes little struggles, but the longer I've been in religious life, the more and more I grow more and more in love with our residents, the apostolate, and caring for the poor. I love every aspect of it.
Sister Ellen Ann, and hospitality is a rather unusual vow for religious to take, although the Brothers of St. John of God, from whom our mother founder, St. Jean Jugan, received the vow of hospitality, have had it for centuries, and hospitality was actually a very major influence in biblical times. It was valued very highly, being welcoming to the stranger, offering water to the passerby in the desert and lodging and so forth. It was always a great honor to practice hospitality. And somehow that's kind of fallen by the wayside in certain ways. And our mother foundress saw that it was a very valuable way to carry out the work that God was calling her to, this charism of hospitality. It's not only sheltering people, but it's welcoming people into your heart as well. And so that's what we strive to do after her example.
And we could be of service to anyone, really. We're called to be of service. We're called to witness to God's love in our lives. And you can't give what you don't have. So God's love has been poured out into our hearts. And he's given us this great love for the residents. And our primary task is that love for the residents. We love our employees. We love our residents' family members. It's not just geared for the residents, but specifically our valve hospitality is first and foremost to our residents. And the least little thing you do is rewarded. God sees that. And even though it's easy to give, but to be on the receiving line, and sometimes we have to see that too. So when the residents do little bitty things for us, it's such an honor, and it gives me so much pleasure. Sometimes I'm running and I'm putting on my apron and they'll say, "Oh, sister, let me fix it for you." And I have to pull back. And even though it's quicker for me to do, I take my time and I let them fix my apron, and it gives them so much pleasure to do things. It's easy to give, but sometimes to be on the receiving end too. And so we're sensitive to that. But in my vow of hospitality, it's a holistic care. It's not just doing little things, but it's also praying for our residents. You have the spiritual and the corporal works of mercy, and all that is also entailed into the daily aspect of our lives, all that we do for the residents and they do for us. And we are so enriched by what we receive from them. They have no idea how much they give to us, to our hearts, and they bless us with their presence. Each and every resident blesses us with God's love in so many ways each and every day. And for instance, I love to, as a little sister, over the years, I've learned to not just do bedside care, but also I've learned I love to set hair, do hair. My mom was a hairdresser and a nurse, but she taught me how to cut hair. I give perms and I set their hair, but the joy on their faces and a little sister giving them that care, they love it and they don't hesitate. "Sister, can you do my hair?" I love doing facials. So I love to wax their faces. I do nails. I do podiatry, anything they want. We are at their service. But there's nothing more beautiful than, we're women and we like to feel good. We like to look good. And so do they, because we have to remember that the residents, all the residents, they were once like we were, young, vibrant, and we always have to remember that there's still people, they have hearts and they care. So it's a real privilege to care for someone else's loved ones. And we have an accountability and a responsibility before God. So
Thank you, sister. It was beautiful how you explained about our vow of hospitality being for care of Jesus himself in the person of the elderly poor, but also how that spirit of hospitality flows out. It kind of emanates from our consecration and hospitality. So if any of you have never had an opportunity to visit a home of the Little Sisters of the Poor, I hope that you do get a chance sometime to experience that, because it's really a beautiful gift from God, and that spirit of hospitality is something that our world so greatly needs. So we have homes on 5 continents. We have homes across the US and in 30 some other countries. If you get an opportunity to visit, you'd be so welcome to visit us and experience and kind of taste that hospitality that Jesus himself and his holy family taught us and that St. Jean Jugan gave us as part of our charism, as part of our legacy, if you will.
Because the most important, you get to see their heart. And once
Yes.
you get to see the heart of these people, you see God's love in them, shining through them, radiating to us and sharing God's love with us. So it's getting to know their hearts. That's so important too.
Yes. And once again, this is God Calling Vocation Vibes, conversations with the Little Sisters of the Poor and special guests. I'm Sister Carol, and we have Sister Ellen Ann with us, and we are talking about hospitality, our vow of hospitality. And you know, the vow of hospitality that we take, our rule of life tells us that every action that we engage in, really the spirit of hospitality flows through that. So, Sister and I are both very blessed to have direct care responsibilities with our residents, and many little sisters are, but some little sisters need to be involved with the begging, the administration and leadership, and different other duties around the home. But all of that is a way that we can live out our vow of hospitality, because our consecration in this vow gives added value to every action we do and makes it a part of the exercise of our vow of hospitality. So, Sister, the daily lived experience of hospitality, you've told us a little bit about the various things that you do. Um, Tell us, do you ever get tired? Young women out there tell me, oh my goodness, I don't know if I could do that. I'd love to. It's beautiful. Tell us about that. Do you get tired? Where do you get the strength? Where do you get the grace?
I get the strength through my prayer life. I mean, I think that God is calling us to be a service. God calls you to a certain vocation. He's going to give you the strength and the grace to do what He asks of you, what He wants of you to do. And so, yeah, I get tired every once in a while, but I get energized really quick. I get it in. I have my days are busy and I keep busy, but I wouldn't give it up for anything, because the more you are, it's like God gives you that energy to do what He asks of you. And so, yes, I respond, and sometimes I pull aside and take a little break, and I'll go pray, take a cup of coffee if I need be, a little energy snack, but it's so rewarding, and I always have something to do, let's put it this way, and I just love it. But I gotta say one thing. There's something I want to share with everybody. Our residents range in various ages, and one of the residents I have, she's my oldest resident. She's 106. I lost my oldest resident last year. She was 108, and she was so petite. And my 106 is very petite. Her family is very loving and very supportive. I also have residents in their 90s, and one resident, really, her family's not truly involved, and she wanted a comforter set for her room. So I asked if I could take her to the local store. Now, she cannot transfer into a car. So we had a wheelchair lift van, and I took her in the wheelchair lift van, and we went shopping. And this is the first time I've ever had like a one-on-one with her in doing so. And she got to select her comforter and her curtains, and I had to fireproof them. It was the most beautiful time when you have a one-on-one with the residents and you do stuff, and it gives them so much pleasure. And that's where you get your energy from. It's like your tank keeps on filling up more and more. The more you do, the more the Lord blesses you, and He gives you the energy for the journey.
Isn't it amazing? And you know, when young people do ask, you know, how would one get the strength? I think they don't fully realize that the vow confers a certain strength upon you. So the person who looks at it from the outside doesn't have that vow and doesn't have the grace and the strength that come from the vow. But God does give the strength and the grace. And when our hearts are on fire with love for what we do, every burden is made light because of that. And
Yeah,
I think often about how people in any walk of life can make good resolves, something that they want to do, a change they want to make in their life, or a goal that they want to achieve. But with us, this good resolve to live hospitality comes with it, the grace of the vow. So we're kind of like hand in hand with Jesus as we go about our duties.
That's correct. And there are sacrifices. You can't deny that. Every walk of life has sacrifices. Parents have to get up in the middle of the night if their child is sick. They have to stop what they're doing to go to the soccer field, baseball field, bring their children to gymnastics or what have you. There's sacrifices entailed in every walk of life, but it's what you do with it and the attitude that you bring to it and how you respond to it. And the grace is there for every walk of life in everything we do. And our prayer life, we're blessed to have time to spend in the chapel before the Blessed Eucharist. And we're energized right there. That's where our energy comes from. Because you can, like I said before, you can't give what you don't have. And it's the Lord that gives us the energy, the food for the journey.
And I can't help but think a lot of people really don't realize what a contemplative dimension we have to our lives. They see us in action with the residents, but they have no idea we're up early in the morning before the residents are awake, united with our Lord in meditation. We have various prayers throughout the day and times of prayer, times of silence with our Eucharistic Lord. And so all of those, as you mentioned, Sister, all of those continue to nourish us. So really, it's a very active life, but it's based on a deep contemplative life that undergirds all the action of every day. And
And
I
it's
like
it's
to think
all
too,
one. It's all one, intertwined one. It's not separate because we're caring for the person of Jesus Christ in these people. Whatsoever you do for the least of these, you do unto me. So our whole lives are spiritual, really.
yes. And I like, well, I mean, I love our whole rule of life, but this one passage to practice the spirit of this vow, hospitality, we dedicate our strength and devote our lives in the service of the elderly. Without sparing fatigue or efforts, we serve them both day and night, promptly, lovingly, and in the same spirit of faith with which we would serve Jesus Christ himself, for it is truly he whom we welcome and care for in the person of the poor, as he formally taught in the gospel, whoever receives you receives me. Amen, I say to you, whatever you did for one of these least brothers of mine, you did for me.
That's correct. And the whole goal, the apex of our lives too, is to assist our residents in the dying process. You die alone. However, they come here and they know they're going to spend their last moments with us. But to think that they close their eyes to us and they open their eyes to God. So from the very beginning, we never take a person for granted. You never know the last thing you do for anything, even in your own families and your loved one, in our little sisters in community. So that's why life is a precious gift. Every moment is a grace. And so the things that we do, we help each other to reach heaven, to get to heaven by doing good, by praying for them, to making sure they're at peace with themselves, peace with their families. We offer them the sacraments if they're Catholic, if not, they're ministers. So that is such a privilege too.
Yes. And one of the aspects of our vocation that is just very dear to my heart is what you just mentioned about it, in so many words, about how it connects directly with eternal life. We're touching and caring for and loving people who have really one foot in the next life. And this helps us to be aware of our call to holiness. And like you say, they close their eyes on us and open their eyes to the beatific vision. And so that would inspire us to want to be more and more godlike with his grace. And
Absolutely.
so what a beautiful help for our own personal holiness and spiritual journey.
Yes, because one day we're going to see them all together. One day we'll all be together.
Yes. And so as young people look at our vocation, I know that the Brothers of St. John of God, there's the brother that we had on this podcast in the series on religious brotherhood, Brother Thomas Sorio. He found his vocation through Little Sisters of the Poor and the spirit of hospitality he loved. And but we only take women. And so he was encouraged to go to the Brothers of St. John of God, and he did. And his heart is so at home there. But as young women are discerning our vocation, particularly as they're discerning religious life, but as they're discerning hospitaller vocation, and as they're discerning to be little sisters, they look at this vow of hospitality and it inspires them, even though, yes, it challenges them. And like you say, there are sacrifices. But we had a young woman whom we met not too long ago who was just so full of love. And she had tears on her cheeks. She was telling the other sister and myself how she's just broken up with her boyfriend because she loved him so much, but her heart was so full of love that one man would never be enough for her. Her heart was just bursting with love. So I thought about the vow of hospitality and the spirit of hospitality. That's kind of what it's like. Your heart is so big. God keeps filling it with more and more love for you to pour out onto others. And so that's a beautiful draw. And of course, we don't just have women who are nurses. You and I are both nurses, but we don't have women only who are nurses. You don't have to be involved in nursing at all to be a little sister of the poor.
But as I want to say something, I mentioned earlier that I was in college in elementary education because I had a great love for children. But then when I got to my vocation in caring for the elderly, I realized more and more the similarities between the real young and the real old, that childlikeness, their dependence on us. There is so much similarities, and it's so beautiful that it so much is intertwined between the real young and the real old, and nothing in life is lost. God uses all of our experiences to get us where he wants and to use us as he so desires. In whichever capacity, that's what we're called, and that's what we do through our vow of obedience as well.
So his grace, like we said, is always there. And which brings to mind another passage from our rule of life, which I really just love. So when I go up to bed every evening and I'm tired, I think about this because being fatigued because of having poured your energy out for Jesus himself and the poor is just such an awesome thing. But it's nothing can give us every evening a more solid consolation than having faithfully and at every moment of the day fulfilled our duties with a pure intention, a generous abnegation, and a contented heart. And so again, to feel fatigue brings that to my mind. And I'm just thanking Jesus for calling me to pour out all my energy and strength for him and the poor. I can't think of a better cause for one to pour out one's energy and strength for.
That's right.
So, sister, do you have any final advice for a young person who might be discerning priesthood or religious life, or a young woman who might be discerning a call to the Little Sisters of the Poor?
Well, my advice would be to be open to the vibes of the Holy Spirit because he speaks to our hearts and he speaks through others. I mean, really and truly, when I was discerning at that moment, I never had a spiritual director, but people would say things and it would go, bing, Little Sister of the Poor, bing, religious life. There were things that were being said and done. And it's like God was revealing himself to me through events, through people, through prayer. And be open to that and don't close yourselves off because it's so enriching when you give your life to God. God gives you 100-fold and more in return. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful life to be of service in the church. It's a real privilege to be a bride of Christ. I just love it.
Yes, truly it is. Thank you so much, Sister Ellen Ann. Again, this is God Calling Vocation Vibes. I'm Sister Carolyn, and we've been speaking with Sister Ellen Ann about the vow of hospitality. And we thank her so much for her beautiful reflections on the vow. I would encourage all of you to be sure to check in with us next time because our next episode is going to be on discernment of a vocation, and we will have Sister Maria Catherine joining us for that. In the meantime, please be assured that Sister Ellen Ann and I and all of our little sisters and the dear elderly poor whom we serve remember you in prayer, and we hold in our hearts your journey with Jesus.
And don't forget to come and see us now to
That's
see our
right.
beautiful work.
That's right.
We're open 24/7.
And you're very welcome.
God
God
bless
bless
you.
you.
Thank you.